One. Un gran abrazo. Great big hug to my YouTube family. It's so special to be here with you guys today. Thank you for tuning in to the Un Gran Abrazo podcast. A great big hug to everybody out there. Hope you guys are having a happy new year. First podcast of the year, and it's an amazing one. We're starting off the year with a boom. Starting off the year strong with a person that is just so impactful. Huge influence and inspiration to so many drummers out there. We've all seen him all throughout YouTube, the crazy things he's done. I'm personally subscribed to his channel, personally follow his lessons. He's such an amazing person, and I truly just admire. And it's such an honor and a privilege to have with us today Juan Carlito Mendoza. What's up, my brother?
Hey, what's going on, man? Good to meet you and good to be on the page, and I'm really stoked about it. Thanks for having me, for sure.
Bro, it truly is an honor. Honestly, man, it's been years. You've had such an amazing career, and we've followed it. I've followed it closely. You're such a crazy talented musician, not just a drummer, because what you do is just so musical, and I've been following it. So honestly, man, it's just such an honor to have you on, to speak with you, to pick your brain about musical drum things and all kinds of things, man. It's just thank you. I just want to thank you again for taking the time, man, and coming on.
Anytime, man. Anytime. And thanks for the invite. I really appreciate it. And it should be fun. It should be good.
So you're at home. You were just telling me a little bit about what you're doing right now. Can you kind of maybe just touch on that again, what you're doing, where your time goes during the day? I know you're in your amazing studio that you just recently remodeled. Can you just kind of tell us what you're doing right now, where you're at, and what's your life like right now in these times?
Oh, man. So I get up early in the morning, and then, I take my daughter to the babysitter, who's my mom. Wow. Which is awesome. Or perfect. To my mother-in-law's. And they live right around the block from each other, which is fantastic.
That's crazy.
So I do that, and then once I come back home, I teach from 7:50 to about 2:50. I'm a middle school band director during the day, so that's what I do all day. And then once I finish that, then I start getting into my second job, which is, being content creator and, teaching private lessons and then editing videos.
Yeah.
All the way up to about I've tried to shut it down though a little bit earlier now.
Mm-hmm.
Because I do want to find that balance between work and family time.
Right.
So I try to shut it down by 6 p.m. That way I can have dinner with my family and spend some time with my daughter and my wife. And then they usually go to bed around 8:30, 9 o'clock. And then by then, if I still have some energy or if I have things to do, then I'll come downstairs and then get some work done. So things have shifted, at least for definitely this year. Like my goal is to make sure I know how to shut things down, because I'm the kind of guy that just likes to work and get projects done. I'm very goal orientated. But I'm trying to learn how to balance life in general. So my day-to-day can change. Some days, like if I have a lot of projects to get done, I'll go to bed around midnight. But lately I haven't done that. Once I've kind of gone into like a health journey, and sleep is like big part of like weight loss and just being better like throughout the day. So I try to shut it down by like 10, right, 10:30. The latest 10:30. But sometimes I'll shut down early, like 9 o'clock, 8:30. Just because like I've witnessed how important sleep is, at least for me, and how I'm able to get more things done throughout the day because I have the energy to do so. And a lot of that was because of sleep and obviously eating right as well.
Right. Man, I love to hear that, because that balance, that's something that I definitely preach to a lot of my viewers and listeners, is a balance and an order in the way that you go about your talent and your drumming. You got so many things to kind of juggle, and it's awesome to hear you touch on balance of life, balance of work, family, of course, which is always first, and your talent, your passion, your career. It's awesome to hear you just touch on that. What would you say out of your content creating and your teaching, for school, like middle school, which one's your passion? Which one's your because you're a teacher at heart. I know your lessons are always amazing on YouTube. You love teaching. You have that talent of teaching. And it's crazy. I didn't know that you were actually a school band teacher. So when you have to kind of create your own content and your own lessons and school, obviously, I think I might know which one you try to lean to, but what's your passion? Teaching, content creating, a mix of everything?
Oh man, I think each one is has its own positives and negatives. I try to mix everything up because I did go to school to become a band director. That's what I wanted to do, and I'm doing it.
Yeah.
Pretty much everything that I set out to do, I'm doing.
Yeah, you're living your dream.
So so my goal for me was I wanted to obviously teach, because to me it was a big deal to give back to the youth, especially in the town I work in, because that's the town that I grew up in. So they've invested so much time and energy into me that I wanted to give that same energy back to them. Like I feel like I owe it to them. You know what I mean?
Right.
So for me, that has its own thing. And then the content creator side is more of like, okay, I have all these ideas in my head. I got to get them out and push them out. And I can do that for my website and all that, but I figured let me push at least for, and one of my goals was always, if I had a big enough platform, was to help people out from different countries that had nothing. Because I know what it is to go to the campo. I know what it is to go to a country where people are still have like 10-year-old drum heads on, and that's what they have, or they'll have X-ray film as drum heads. Wow. So I know that. My parents come from that. I grew up here, but my parents grew up in Puerto Rico, and I know how things are. Right. And I visited a lot of third world countries. So for me, it was more like, man, if I can find a way to give back to people that I probably will never meet personally, unfortunately, but if I can touch them and help them out, like to me, that pushes me so much more. So I kind of, it's a hard question to answer because I think both of them are passions of mine and things that I've always wanted to do. And the fact that I get to do it is what's amazing to me.
But I guess what I get from that is that your true passion deep down is giving back. And that's where the teaching comes. That's where the content creating comes, because at the end of the day, you're giving back. You're using your talent to kind of pour into others. And I love that. I love that.
Absolutely. And people have, if I tell you my story, essentially it's just, and I'll make it real quick.
Please do.
So for me, like I grew up in a town, the town that I live, that I'm teaching in now. It's not the wealthiest town or anything like that. My parents didn't have a lot of money. We weren't like broke or anything like that. We made things happen, but we know, like for me, I knew the source of why we were able to afford what we could afford.
Right.
And I knew I couldn't afford private lessons. I'll tell you that for sure. And then I ended up going to Puerto Rico, just on vacation or whatever, during like Christmas break. And I was in middle school, and then my cousin was asking me about the school band, whatever, and I was just like, I kind of quit just because I didn't want to play on a practice pad the whole time. And he pretty much told me I'm dumb, and like you got to pay for that stuff here, like take advantage of it. It's important to read music. My dad was always about that too. Was like, please read music, Nene, because like my dad is a great guitarist, but he didn't know how to read music, and he was like, man, it just limits you. So he's like, do it. So anyways, so I ended up going to Puerto Rico, and he was like, my cousin was like, listen, do me a favor. I'm going to show you a video. Don't quit. If you feel like you don't want to play drums after seeing this video, then you don't have to go back. So I said, all right, cool, deal. So this is back in the day. So he takes out the VHS, puts the VHS in, and I hear like this crazy drumming, and it was the Dave Weckl Back to Basics video.
Wow.
And I was just like, I'm like, Dad, you can do that on the drum set. Like, why don't my drums sound like that? why don't I sound like that? And that kind of sparked everything for me. So, anyways, with that being said, I was like, okay, I joined the school band, whatever. I started to get into concert band, then the jazz band started, and I was like, oh, I want to play drum set. So at that time I was playing drum set, but I wasn't reading any like crazy rhythms or anything like that. I was just playing in church. So anyways, so the band director saw some talent in me. He was like, man, this guy has talent. He didn't tell me any of that. He's just kind of like, great, everything sounds good, blah, blah, blah. Then he sent my name to the other middle school band director at the time, who's still working there, which is cool. He's a colleague of mine now. Wow. So things are kind of like full circle.
Yeah.
And he's like one of my great friends. Like I don't even call him by his first name. His first name is John, but I call him Mr. G because like I still have so much respect for him. So anyway, so maybe like a couple months later, I get like some sort of package, like a whole box. And they're like, yo, these are your books. And I'm like, the heck are you talking about? And it was like a plethora of books. Like I still have them to this day. Like when I talk about stacks, I'm talking about like stacks of books.
Wow.
And I'm like, all right, like what am I going to do with these books? And they're like, okay, you're going to start taking lessons with Mr. G. Well, I call him Mr. G. Mr. G, you're going to start after school. You'll set up your times with him and I'm going to go from there. But I was like, yeah, I can't afford it. They're like, no, you don't understand. Like we see something in you and we're investing in you. You need to take drum lessons because you have something that's different than everybody that we've ever seen encountered in this district. So that's when I was like, oh man, I guess I might have something in me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So as a kid, I don't think that, it's just like, I just like to play drums.
Right.
So anyway, so I started studying with him. I told my parents, first of all, they were ecstatic. They were grateful, they cried and stuff like that. And I'm just like, wow, I get an opportunity to learn how to do this properly. Let's say that. Right.
Yeah.
So anyway, so as the time goes on, I'm learning more about, different things like full strokes, downstrokes and all this stuff. I had no idea. I'm just following. I'm being obedient at this point. I'm just like, all right, whatever you teach me, that's what I'm going to do.
Right.
So he's teaching me all this stuff. Couple years down the line, so I've graduated high school and then, that's my boy, Mr. G. So I started asking him like, Mr. G, who you study with, all this stuff. He was like, well, I went to Manhattan School of Music, which is like one of the best music schools.
Absolutely.
Yeah. In the States, like it's like right next to Juilliard. Like it's crazy. So he went to Manhattan School of Music. He has a master's in what we call Dacros. Like the dude was just like legit. Right. And then he was like, oh, here are my one of my private teachers was Joe Morello. And I'm like, what? And so everything that I was learning was pretty much everything that Joe Morello taught him.
God.
So I'm getting this information. Like once I found out and researched who Joe Morello was, I was just like, yo, I got all these resources for free.
Yeah.
As an investment. And people that believed in me. So I tell that long story just because it's like, I feel like I have to give back to that same community that gave back to me.
Wow.
I have to invest in these kids that have absolutely nothing.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like kids that are in an apartment with like 10 plus people in it illegally. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's just like, that's why I'm like, yo, I got to push and I got to give because they gave that much to me. If I can give a little bit of that back and they can see that, yo, you can actually be something from this little town that we're from, like you can totally do it. So like, if I can do it, like you can totally do it.
Right.
So what's stopping you? You know what I mean? And I tell people, I'm like, the only thing that's stopping you is your limitation. Mm-hmm. You're limiting your brain because right now, if you really think about it, the times we're living in, if you have a computer, like you can make money. Right. You can find a way to make content. You can find a way to get known. That's now, obviously, depending on the country you live in, you're limited on some of those resources. But if your content is good and your content is legit, you'll be able to make money. You'll be able to reach people. More importantly, be able to reach people and just be able to touch people with a message. Even if it's something like, all right, here's a rebound stroke. Maybe people don't even know what a rebound stroke is. And that all of a sudden brightens up their day, or they go, oh man, that's exactly what I needed, because I couldn't get faster, or I couldn't play this at a certain tempo.
That's so true. That's so true. And I really can relate to that, because I'm not the best drummer in the world. I'm not even, the highest educated, but I just grabbed a camera that I had and a computer, and I started uploading videos, and God has allowed, my channel to grow, because people want to see. You don't have to be, the best, but you got to give them something that they need, so if they need to learn the songs that I was playing or whatever for their church or anything like that, they want to see that. They need. So I really can relate to what you're saying right there, and I love that you're saying that. I love that you're highlighting that, because I love to also remind everybody that listens that you can do it. It's just set yourself out to do it. Put that goal, and you have to find the resources. Use whatever you have in the moment, even if it's not a $5,000 camera and a MacBook, but you have an iPhone, and you got stuff. So use your resources and make it happen. And one thing that I love to highlight, because one of the reasons why I'm doing these podcasts is to really try to give drummers out there little nuggets of wisdom that's not necessarily a paradiddle, or which is very important. But I love the fact that, for example, what I get from the story you were just telling us about your background, the gratitude that you had drives you to do what you do today. That gratitude of, hey man, look, I have this for free. My family in Puerto Rico, they don't get to have this. So the fact that you kind of build this gratitude to what you have, gratitude to the people that poured into you, gratitude to, just the people that believed in you, that pushed you, and just a giving heart. So I think those are things that are important for drummers today. Like, set your goals, strive for your dreams, but there are things that are going to push you there even faster. Gratitude, having a giving heart, thinking about others, not necessarily just, I want to be the best. I want to grind. I want to get this. I want for me, but having a mentality of like, man, I want to give. I want to give out to others of what I've received. So I think that that's so important. And I love the fact that that's your background, because I don't think a lot of people might know. I was kind of searching for any other maybe interviews that you'd done, and I didn't see many that were speaking about your background like this. So I love that you're sharing this with us, man.
Yeah, man. And it's just, put it like this, man. I wake up in the morning and I'm just grateful that I'm breathing and that I'm able to walk, like things that people take for granted. Like, I am super grateful for the fact that I'm able to wake up and say hi to my wife and, be able to talk and have all my senses working. Like, that's a big deal, you know? And if you're waking up every day and you have that, like, you should be grateful for that,
That's
you
right.
know, because a blind person would wish to be able to see one day, you know, and you're taking these, what we call normal things, for granted, man. And I don't take anything for granted. I'm able to wake up, man, and I'm able to do what I love to do. I'm able to just have a loving wife, a loving daughter. I'm able to have great students, and just the environment that I'm in, like, I could be living somewhere else, but God chose me to be here at this moment. And I'm cool with it. I'm very grateful, because my circumstances could be a lot worse.
That's right.
But at the end of the day, it's just more like, I'm just grateful to be alive and just be able to function normally.
Yeah.
And it all starts from there, because I don't have to go, I'm entitled to be here. That's not my style. It's never been my style. The fact that anybody, even when I get like a message on YouTube or anything like that on Instagram, like, I make it a point to try to respond to every single person. Just because it's like, they took time out of their day to at least say hi to me. I have to find a way to at least say hi or acknowledge that I saw it and that I appreciated it.
Wow.
Because to me, that's a big deal. It's not about me being at a certain level and then other people being at a certain level, because at the end of the day, we are just humans. You know what I mean? And we have different platforms, but that doesn't necessarily make me a better person than the person next to me.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I'm grateful for pretty much everything that has come to me and every situation, even if it's negative, because I've learned a lot from those negative, comments or just negative situations. Like I've learned so much more on what not to do. Sometimes that's a better lesson than anything else. It's just like what not to say is probably more important than what you're saying at this moment.
That's right.
So, I'm great. I'm just a grateful dude, man, and I'm just honored to even be in the position that I'm in. I'll tell you that.
And you actually just really just kind of shine that through who you are when you speak and all your videos. That just you really just kind of, what's the word? You just kind of portray that, and you just really exude that gratefulness, that gratitude, the humility, which is something that I really just always remind myself, remind the viewers. Is like, man, if you want to get somewhere, you can't lose these values. You got to be grateful. You got to just have a giving heart. Be humble. Stay humble. Don't take anything for granted. I love that, bro. And man, I think that there's a reason why. I was reading your background that you have on your website, and just the accolades, the triumphs, the victories, the competitions that you've been in. Everybody knows Guitar Center, which was obviously one that kind of got you to a lot of people's eyes and ears. But before that, man, you had already such a long trajectory of just hard work, focus. And that's one of the things that when I was reading and when I was just looking at all your videos, there's something that above all your crazy, amazing playing that just really speaks to me, and it's your focus. And I really like you to kind of maybe share with us that focus, because what you've achieved up to today, what you're doing, the balance that you have in your life, everything that you're just juggling, you got to have that laser focus. What is your view on that? How do you focus in your drumming, in your career, when you're in a competition, now that you're teaching? What's your key to focus as a drummer, as a musician, and as a human being?
I think the biggest thing for me is I write things down. Because sometimes we have a lot of thoughts, but we forget those thoughts and we never put those thoughts into action. So for me, if I can write what I need to get done, like for me, for example, on a weekly basis, I have a list.
Let me write that down, because that's huge.
So on a weekly basis, for me, I'll write down my goals. So like right now, one of my goals, well, I wrote a yearly goal. So one of my yearly goals was to upload a YouTube video every week this year, because my goal is to hopefully get 75,000 and maybe 100,000 followers or subscribers on YouTube. Like that's my goal. If I can do it, great. If I can't, it's all good. But at least one of my goals was to put out a video every week. So in order for me to do that, I had to plan my week accordingly to fit that process in, and also fit in everything else that I have to get done for the week. So for example, some of those goals can be, I have lessons to teach that week. I have content to write for my website. I have, I'm also a university professor, so I have to teach those students as well. So, and then I have to find time for my family. So how do I get all this stuff done? I write it down. I write down what my goals are, and I write them down in an order. So I go, okay, I know I have to get my YouTube lesson done in a week. So if I can get my filming done by Monday, I can edit Tuesday, Wednesday, and then hopefully be done by Wednesday. By Thursday, I can review the whole process, get everything ready to go. That way, Thursday, I can just check the video to make sure everything is, if I have to do any fine tuning, everything is doing pretty much done on Thursday. Then after that, I'm not worrying about that, because throughout the week, once I get through that video, then I can go tackle the smaller things in between there. So the smaller things can be like writing certain, grooves or certain things that I have to get done for, let's say Instagram. So any IG reels or anything like that, I go, okay, I'm going to film that on Tuesday, and I'll edit all those reels or anything like that day, because those are quick. So
Right.
you have to find a workflow more than anything else. Secondly, you can't overwork yourself either. Like, you have to be realistic with what you're trying to accomplish, because if not, what's going to happen is you're going to have a burnout. And that's what I was doing from like 2013 to about last year, or maybe, yeah, probably like last year, or maybe a year and a half ago. I was burned out, man, because I was trying to get too much done. I was focusing on everything else, and I wasn't focusing on the things that really mattered. I wasn't focusing on my health. I wasn't focusing on my family. I wasn't focusing on my wife. I wasn't focusing on my daughter. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
to me, it's all about priorities. And I know people want to grind and grind, but it's just like, at the end of the day, if you die tomorrow, like, social media will care for about 2 days,
Yeah.
and then they're on to the next one.
Yes.
So who are the people that are there to back you up? So, and invest that time with those people. So for me, it's like, now I spend more time with my family. And any project that I do need to get done, I go, all right, can I get this done in a reasonable amount of time? Like, is a week reasonable, or do I need 2 weeks?
Mm-hmm.
And now I don't care at this point. I'm at to the point where it's like, all right, I'll take me 2 weeks, but the quality of the content is going to be superb, because now I'm just taking my time with it, and I'm not rushing to just get content out.
Right.
Because content is content, and that's cool, but you still want to put out quality things. So if you're putting out garbage every week, people are going to be like, oh, I don't know, man, like, his quality kind of went down, unsubscribe, or it's just like, I'm not going to subscribe to it.
Right.
So it's all about writing things down. And I have a whiteboard in my office where I cross things out and go, okay, I got that done this week. And then every week I cross it out, and here are my new goals. And then I write it down. And then I try to get everything done. And it's worked out. And then all those goals are related to my yearly goals. And it always goes back to my yearly goals. Like, what am I focusing on this year? And is everything that I'm doing now focused on, or is it going to help my ultimate goals, essentially?
Right.
You know, you'll always have, like, you know, things that will derail you a little bit, but it's just a matter of like how you're going to adjust to make things happen. And sometimes you have to pull those, you know, long nights, you know, to do that. But like, I've learned, like, I'm not going to do that anymore. Like, I'm not going to pull all these all-nighters to get things done for people that are probably not going to appreciate it at the end of the day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Where things can wait. When I can go upstairs and go hang out with my daughter and, you know, play with her. Yeah. And I know she'll appreciate that more than, you know, 100 viewers or whatever. So it's all about priorities too, man.
Yeah. So you write down your yearly goals, and then you weekly have your agenda, your schedule, you cross it out, and it's always related to your yearly goals. Do you have weekly, monthly, and yearly?
Yeah, I have a yearly goal, and then I break that down into monthly. So what is reasonable in a month to get done, or at least try to get done? And then I break it down to weekly goals. Like, how can I get these monthly goals done in my daily, you know, practice or whatever. So yeah. And I've learned though, like, you can't write too many goals, because then you'll get overwhelmed, you know. But make sure that the goals are big. Like, don't just dream small. Like, don't just say, all right, I'm going to get 2 YouTube videos done in a year. Yeah. Like, you know what I mean? Especially when you're putting out, like, let's say like 12 videos a year, let's say, right? You know, like, you know, you're going to accomplish that. You want to always make things better and push yourself. So make sure they're realistic, but you still want to push yourself. That way, every year you're leveling up, you know, and not just in volume, but more importantly in quality.
Right. Now, in your studio, do you have like a plug and play system where you've got everything set up, where you got something you got to do, you got the time frame, so let me just come in here, sit, get it recorded, get my camera, boom, boom, boom? Or does that still take you time to where you got to plug everything in? Like, how does that work for you?
So all the audio stuff is all pretty much plugged in. Like, so once we had this whole studio redone, I had to rewire everything, and we did that process. And we're still kind of fine tuning certain things. But for the majority of it, like the actual audio aspect, most of that's done. The video aspect changes from video to video depending on what angles I want. So like right now, I'm experimenting with different angles. So once I find the right angles, then I'll have everything kind of stationary. And then what I want to do is, like, for example, I'll have tape, and I'll put the tape on the legs of the tripod. That way, if I do happen to move the tripod, I can just put it back into its position, and it's like in the general vicinity. So you find a way to get your workflow happening, quickly. So most of this, I would say like 85% of the stuff is already set up. It's just a matter of making sure that the camera batteries are charged, and making sure that you have the right lenses, making sure you have the right angles, making sure that you're framed right. Like I've also had at a certain point, I've had like 4 cameras, and I've kind of just consolidated everything to like 2 cameras, just because having the more angles is more work. So I was like, you know what? In order for me to get content out every week, I have to consolidate to 2 camera angles, but those 2 camera angles have to be legit and they have to look great. So I've kind of consolidated and adjusted a lot of things. Now for my website, that's different because I am selling, product. Then I'll have like 4 cameras, and, then I'll take more time. So
Right.
That's why those lessons at the website are longer. So like those average like 20 minutes to like half hour. So that's going to be like, for example, that's one of my focuses. So in order for me to get a YouTube lesson out every week, I'm starting next week. I got an intern coming in.
Wow.
To help me out because I want to focus on my website. I can't focus on my website and YouTube at the same time because the editing process takes so long on the video portion. Like all the cutting up, all the graphics, all the overlays, all the inlays that have to go into everything, and the sound effects, all the tracks, like all that stuff takes time. It takes me, put it like this, I just put out a YouTube video today. For that video, it didn't take me too long, but the video before that, which was left foot hi-hat grooves, that was a 17-minute video. That took me, no lie, editing time alone took me about a good 15 hours.
Wow.
At least to edit that video. So when people are always like, oh, when's the next one coming out? When's the next one coming out? Yeah. It's just like, yo, I'm just trying to take a breather because I just spent 15 hours editing that video that you probably saw 2 minutes of. You know what I mean?
Right.
So like for me as a viewer, now I appreciate content more because I know what goes behind all that work.
Yes.
So I go, okay, I'm going to spend, at least 5 minutes watching this 10-minute video because I know this person probably spent about a good 15 hours editing this video, especially if it's like it's a lot of graphics and sheet music and all this stuff. I'm going to spend time doing that. So yeah, man. So that's what I'm saying. Like you have to be realistic with your goals, and don't be afraid to ask for help. Like at this point, I have to ask for help. I was like, yo, I got to get an intern. I put out an ad. I got an intern who's awesome, and he's coming in next week. Awesome. So he's going to be helping me out with my Instagram stories and other things. And more importantly, the guy is a fantastic dude. He's a believer, and he's an amazing drummer, like legit amazing drummer. So you'll be seeing probably some collaborations with me and him, and because I don't even want to call him my intern. You know what I mean? Like he's a buddy of mine. He's a good dude, and I respect him as a drummer and as a musician. So keep your eyes out for that. So
cool, man. I love it. I just want to take a second to thank the sponsors that make this podcast possible. I really just want to thank AJP Drums, which is the company that endorses this channel, and myself, Nestor. Thank you so much for believing in what we're doing here. If you go out to their Instagram and ajpdrums.com, you'll see all the amazing custom drums that they can make, all kinds of different combinations of hardware, finishes. Their drums, I had been a fan of their drums for so long. I'd played their drums for like over 10 years. And I just want to thank Nestor for believing, and I just actually put out a video with the mix of AJP drums and Code drum heads, and I love the sound. So if you go to ajpdrums.com and AJP Drums on Instagram and use the code JSQuent10, you will get 10% off your purchase, your snare, your drum set, and you can custom make your depths, your plies, your finish, everything. So go to ajpdrums.com. JSQuent10 is the code, and you'll get 10% off your purchase. Also, I want to take Baby Lou Boutique, which is an amazing clothing boutique store for babies, toddlers, and our kids. It's a dream that my wife and I had when our baby, you guys know the story. She came to this world, left us this amazing just idea. God sent her for a purpose. Now she's with the Lord. And thanks to her and just what she impacted us, we started Baby Lou Boutique. If you want to dress your babies up, build memories with them, take pictures of them and tag us and just make memories with your kids, which are the most precious things, just clothe them in Baby Lou Boutique. And we've got some crazy specials that we've rolled over from Christmas and New Year's and Seis de Reyes. Go right now to babylouboutique.com and Baby Lou Boutique Co. on Instagram, and you'll find all our items that are almost out. We're almost running out. We're almost sold out. So go and get those last few items. We're going to get new stock, new styles in for this new upcoming spring season 2021. But go to babylouboutique.com, and thank you guys so much for endorsing and sponsoring a lot of what you see here on this podcast. Thank you, Baby Lou Boutique. Juan, what are the companies that you're working with right now? I know I was watching the remodeling of your studio. You're working with Audimute. Are you still working hand in hand with DW, or no? You're now with Pearl. How is that switch? Are you still with Meinl? Can you talk to me about kind of where you're at with the companies you're working with right now?
Absolutely, man. So Audimute is the company that did this studio, and they're my sponsors as well. They're amazing people. They have amazing products. Like everything that you see here is actually like soundproofing. So
Wow.
It's not foam. It's actually made out of paper. But it's I think it's called cellulose. I don't know the exact term, but I think it's cellulose. And it's patent. They had the patent on it. So everything is soundproof. Audimute. It's just amazing. They make anything, like all these beams. These
Your
wood
signature
beams
in the back?
Yeah, everything.
Wow.
Everything that's in this room is all soundproofing. So this wall right here that looks like wood, that's actually soundproofing. This wood beam that's on the ceiling, it's not wood, it's actually soundproofing.
Wow.
Like everything. The door, the whole door is soundproofing. Like all that wood that's back there is all soundproofing. Everything that's in this room. The only thing that's not soundproof is my wood floors on the floor.
Right.
That's about it. But everything else is all soundproofing. And yeah, check them out. It's audimute.com. So they have that. They have blankets that they make as well, which are fantastic. I have some in the other room. And they're coming back, I think, in January to do my my office.
Wow.
And I'm really stoked about that.
Yeah.
So we got some.
Is
cool
that where
ideas.
you mix all your videos in your office? You mix your own?
That's
cool.
So I mix everything in my office. Sometimes I'll mix it here, but I have my speakers in my office, so I just kind of go to the office. Plus, it's nice to sometimes get out of the room, especially when you've been in here for like, a couple of hours. So that's one. Audimute. Then drum-wise, I'm with Pearl Drums.
Mm-hmm.
Been with Pearl Drums for about 3 or 4 years, or something like that. And I'm stoked to be with Pearl, man. I think hands down, like for me, and not even because I'm a Pearl endorser or any of that. It's just they make such great quality products at an affordable price,
Right.
and you can get it anywhere. Like it's just like it's a no-brainer for me. And if you want a really high-end kit, you can get a high-end kit.
Of course.
Or even if you get like a Pearl Export series, that kit sounds fantastic.
Right.
So I'm with Pearl Drums. I'm with Meinl Cymbals. I've been with Meinl Cymbals since 2013. Remo drumheads. I mean, Remo for me is just where it's at.
Yeah.
Vic Firth drumsticks. I'm also with CTM monitors, in-ear monitors. Also with drum dots. I use drum dots. I use a drum dial sometimes to tune some of the things if I'm fine-tuning certain things and
Right.
my ear is just not working at that day.
Mm-hmm.
I use the drum dial. Groove gear. and who else? Oh, Earthworks microphones. That that happened, I think, like 2 years ago, a year and a half, 2 years ago, and I'm stoked, man. Once I got my Earthworks mics, everything got switched. Like I was using Shure stuff for a while, which was fantastic. It was great, but it was night and day as soon as I got the Earthworks items, the microphones. I was just like, man, this is like a no-brainer.
Right.
So I'm trying to think who else. I think that's it. I think that's all of them. So if I missed any, oh, Taco Instruments, who's who makes bags. Like he makes like a cymbal bags. He makes stick bags. He makes like cloths for the drums. Oh, and Big Fat Snare Drum also is another one.
Right.
So and that's it. I think that's it.
It's
If I missed anybody, I apologize. But I think that's everybody.
Now it's funny that you mention it because I actually made a video at the end of last year saying, man, what are my goals for 2021? And I kind of just wanted to make a video so I could keep it and just document it. One of my goals is, my drum room in my house to really adequately fit it as a studio. Because right now it's just a room in my house where I set up my drums and I record. And I don't have any kind of soundproofing. And one of my just goals is, hey, I want to soundproof this room. I want to make it better, and just the quality of the sound that I can record in this room. I want to just make sure to maximize it. So I definitely want, that's how endorsements work, because I saw your video of your studio, saw the company Audio Mute. I've been just looking at their website. I love the patterns in the back because the visuals is so important for videos. Visual, having a cool looking visual is important. And I've been looking at Audio Mute, so I've definitely been just eyeing my different options. But I'm for sure this year gonna definitely pursue maybe my options with Audio Mute to really make my drum room sound the best. My issue is like my room is a bit small, I guess, but what I would like is for it to be really just soundproof to where nobody can hear me like in the other room if my son is sleeping or if my wife is sleeping and I want to do kind of like a 9-10 p.m. session and they're already in bed. With your experience with Audio Mute right now in your studio, how soundproof is it?
Dude, let me tell you. I'll tell you this. My wife is very happy now.
That's
my
awesome.
wife is very, very happy.
Wow.
So I'll tell you how this whole thing is. So essentially where I am right now is my basement in my house. And we bought this house because of the basement, because this whole thing was free. Like this basement is huge. So anyways, the problem is that right above me is my bathroom. Okay. So what happened was when I was playing, like, you would hear it pretty clearly before Audio Mute. Like it was pretty loud in the house. You would hear it, and my wife was cool. Like my wife never complained. She was like, "Oh no, it's fine. Everything is good." We had some soundproofing or whatever.
Yeah.
But I knew by like 7-8 o'clock, I was like, I'm gonna shut it down because my daughter's gonna go to bed, and it does get loud, I guess. Like
Right.
I didn't know because nobody plays drums in here besides me.
Yeah.
And when I did have somebody play drums, I was in the bathroom. I'm like, man, it's pretty loud in here.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, so as soon as we finished renovations, I walked into the room and you heard the difference from the beginning. Like it was insane. Like it felt like you were walking into like a vocal booth. Like
Wow.
legit. That's what I have a big vocal booth. That's what I have right now in this room. So anyways, I had one of my friends actually come over this past weekend, and he didn't see the studio yet redone, and he came in here and he went nuts, bro. He was cursing up the storm and was like, what the heck, blah blah blah,
Yeah.
but not what the heck,
Yeah.
But he was like, yo, like I can't believe how dry is in here or how soundproof it is. Like when people walk in here, it freaks them out because their ears are like not acclimated to it. It's kind of weird.
Yeah, it's like a crazy silence.
Yo, it was weird. And then once my wife walked in the first time, she was like, oh my God. And then I was like, okay, honey, I'm going to just put some drums in here and I'm gonna play. You let me know how it sounds. And she recorded it. And
Wow.
before you would be able to hear it really loud,
course.
and now all of a sudden all you hear is just like it was
Yeah,
just
yeah, yeah.
muffled, so you can't even hear it. So now like I can go pretty late. I can go whenever the heck I want, essentially. Um, so I've pushed it. I wanted to see like I think like 3 weeks ago I was playing like 9:30, 10 o'clock at night just to see, and my daughter was sleeping, and I have no issues, man. Like no
Wow.
issues at all. It's when I say it was a drastic difference, man, like it's huge. And you see it in the video, like in the
Yeah.
YouTube video,
Yeah, yeah.
like the first notes I played, like my mouth was wide open and I flubbed all these notes because I was just like, oh my God, I can't believe how different it sounds in here. And
Right.
it was weird because now I heard every single note and I was like, yo, I have to really practice now because I have to be intentional with everything I play because you're going to hear everything clearly.
Right.
So this room will freak people out just because it's just like you got to be clean, and if
Right.
not, you're gonna hear all your mistakes. So
Right. Right.
it's a good and bad thing for some players. For me, I love it because I'm like, all right, cool. It challenges me to I got to play well all the time. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Man, now you're convincing me even more because that's my biggest thing is my son sleeping, and I do have some neighbors. They've been cool. They've never ever told me anything. But still, you want to kind of just be like cautious, and it's like I don't want to bug people at 11 p.m. playing. So it's awesome to hear that. It's awesome to hear that, man. I think that. Do you think that like what you were saying, that muffling, will it ever kind of bug you, or do you think that, hey, I'm gonna work and just get better to perfect my playing to the where I can accustom myself to this environment?
It doesn't bug me at all. I love it. I absolutely love it because now I'm saving so much more time with the mixing aspect of the drumming. I'm just like, yo, I don't have to take so much time to cut this out and cut this out. It's like the sounds that I'm getting, the signals that I'm getting are so clean
Right.
that whatever effect I add, it's just minimal.
Right.
And
Right.
it's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing, man. I don't have to cut so many things out anymore. I don't have to worry about too much bleeding or any of that anymore. So
Right.
it's cut down my time a lot, and I'm grateful for Mitch and everyone at AudioMute, man. Like those people are amazing. They sent me renderings, before we did everything. I was in contact with them the whole time. I was in contact with their design team. I didn't come up with pretty much anything here, to be honest with you. Like I was just
Wow.
like, listen, the only thing I want is it to look clean, and I want it to look contemporary. That's all I care about. I didn't want anything fancy. And then this, like the signature in the back, like I didn't even add that. That was him. He added that, and then the logos. He was like, "Man, we should do this, for your branding." And I'm kind of happy I did the signature in the background because a lot of people have been reposting my stuff, and then what happens is they don't give you credit for it.
Yeah.
So now that I have the branding in back, they can't take that out. They
That's
can't
so
crop the video.
Yeah.
It's like they're gonna know who it is.
Uh-huh.
So it wasn't like the cool thing. Like when I first saw it, I'm like, man, I don't know, man. I don't want people to think I'm narcissist or anything like that, Like I'm not that guy,
Right.
But then it made sense to me. I'm like, this makes sense because now I don't have to put a watermark on my videos. Everyone's gonna know it's mine, and everyone's gonna know who it is. So I'm okay with that. So so yeah, and then I have a blank, like I have a bare wall that's behind me
Mm-hmm.
over there, and we're gonna. At first, when we came up with the concept, I'm like, oh, that's cool. Let's keep it clean because then I can just put images and stuff on top of it when I'm doing like my video editing. But I did some test trials, and I'm like, it just looks too bare. Like it didn't have the effect that I wanted. And he's got something up his sleeve. He's coming back in January, or February, and he's like, I got something up my sleeve that I want to do with that bare wall. So stay tuned.
Yeah, man, for sure. For sure. I'm always tuned into your channel, your content, man. It's just really inspiring because one of the things is just the cleanliness and the just really systematic way that you play. You're really calculating every note that you're playing. I mean, obviously while you're playing, you're just flowing. But it's so cool to see that you're actually really aware of what you're playing, every note, because that's your background. You have an educated kind of studious university type background in playing, and you can tell. But the musicality from you could tell, man, you're from Puerto Rico when you play, because you got that Latin flair. You flow with it. I've seen some guys that are very in that educated, school background of playing, and it's sometimes a little robotic in my opinion. But with you, it's like it flows. So I love that balance of it's raw. It's something that comes from a background, but it's really calculated. It's really studied, and it's intentional. So I love that, man. I love that about your playing.
Thank you, man. And that's exactly what it is. It's intentional. I try to be intentional with I'm playing, even if it sucks. As long as it's intentional, it's like, okay, I meant to do that, and there's nothing wrong with taking chances and just like I've learned so much by my mistakes. I learn a lot more that way than anything else. But if you're intentional and you make a mistake, to me, that's awesome. It's like, okay, cool. I didn't mean for that to happen. But now, if I want that to happen, I can be intentional with it. So the key word, like you said at the end, was just I want to be intentional with what I play and what I believe in and what I do in my life,
Right.
at the end of the day.
An intentional person. And man, I'm writing all this down because that's one of the reasons why I've been having these podcasts is, man, these little nuggets are so important, man. Like, I can learn a paradiddle and it's cool and I love it and it'll help me with my playing, but what else can I learn that's going to help me in life? And when I'm bettering my life, when I better my focus, when I organize my schedule, how is that going to impact my playing in a indirect but yet very direct way? You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of what my focus is for 2021 is like bettering my surroundings and my focus. That's gonna then in return better my playing, because I'm gonna be able to focus more, because my time is gonna be organized, because my mentality is gonna be good, my sleep, like everything you've been saying. I really want everybody out there here listening to just take note and just organize your life, organize your eating habits, organize everything. And it's something that I definitely am pursuing and need to do, but I definitely want all these drummers out here to, be intentional in everything you do, not just your playing, because when you build around your drumming to make that a priority and it's really structured in a great way, you're going to be successful. And I love that example that you give, man. I knew that I had to invite you because I knew this is how it was going to go. You've been sharing amazing things, man. Thank you so much.
Absolutely, man. That's what I'm here for. And I'm glad I got the opportunity to come on, man, for sure.
Let me ask you this. How, because with the way they paint it, for you is the Guitar Center drum off. You win it and you just become a star drummer. You get all the endorsements, you get everything, and you're just boom, you're just big. How true is that? What's the reality behind that? You won. What's next? Did it all pour down on your career, or did you still have to grind? Can you kind of maybe clear that up for a lot of people? Because it seems like sometimes people have that stigma of you win the Guitar Center, you're big time. How true is that?
That is as false as it can be. So what Guitar Center does is at least that drum off, they set you up with a great platform. And the way I describe it to people is like, it's like ice cream. It's like you're the flavor of the month. In this case, you'll be the flavor of like 4 months, 4 or 5 months. Because by the time you win, they're already setting up the next Guitar Center drum off. So within those 4 months is the time where you have to not come up with a plan. You have to come up with a plan before you win the drum off. Now you have to find a way to implement that plan within those 4 months to stay relevant before the next winner comes. Let's say that, or the next flavor of the month comes, right?
Yeah.
So for me, I already knew what my intentions were. I knew I wanted to be content creator, and I wanted to build a platform. Whether that platform was YouTube, which I already had before, or whether that platform was getting my website created while getting my name out there as an educator and as a player. Because I didn't want to just be an educator. Like, I wanted to be an educator that can play.
Right.
I didn't want to just be theoretical and help people out theoretically. It's like, no, man, look, this is how you do it. And this is how this is what it looks like This is what it sounds like. And in order for you to achieve that sound, this is what you need to do.
Yeah.
So for me, it was again, my plan was intentional the whole time. It was just like, I had to be a better educator. I wanted to make sure I had a platform that I can reach certain people. So for me, I didn't have a Twitter at the time. And I even hated getting Twitter because it was just like, man, Twitter is for like real famous people. You know what I mean? Like I was just like, I don't even like the platform so much. But Guitar Center made me get it because that's what was hot at the time. Yeah. But I also joined Instagram because I knew that's where it was going to be. So my intention was, okay, in order for me to be successful, at least with the platform that I have, as far as the, winning the drum off, I have to put out content. And I think for me, JP pioneered the way because JP was doing vlogs. JP was doing all these videos on YouTube. And I was like, wow, like he's staying very relevant because he's building content on his YouTube channel, but content that's fun to watch, like vlogs, which just happening. He was taking people behind the scenes with sessions and all this stuff. And I'm like, wow, like JP's going to stay relevant for a long time because he figured out that in order to stay relevant, you have to be exposed. You got to expose yourself out there to many people.
Right.
So I took that and I was like, okay, in order for me to be successful with this drum off thing, I have to find a way to be a content creator, and not just be a content creator, but be a content creator that does things well. So I got into like Final Cut Pro, and I was just like, I knew I have to get into video editing. I had to get into audio. Like, at that point, I didn't know anything about it really. I was recording with a Zoom recorder, and I had Final Cut Pro, and I was just like, I just got to dive in and do it. And I went into the Lion's Den, and I just did it. Yeah. So like some of the videos that are even on my website now that I first did, I'm like, oh man, I don't even want to sell them anymore, because it's like I want to redo them all, but I'm just like, I'm not going to do that because I want people to see the process. I want people to see that it's going to take years upon years to improve on your content. And I don't want people to be discouraged and say, oh man, look at the level of this production. I'm not going to get into, like, let's say YouTube, right? Like if people look at my YouTube channel right now, they'll be like, I'm not going to get into YouTube. Look at what I got to compete with, right? But it's not even about that. It's about like, in order for you to get to where I am right now, it's taken 7 to 8 years to learn about how to function with a camera, how to talk to a camera. Yeah. That's impossible at the beginning. It's just like you're just staring at this lens and a red light, and you get this red light syndrome and you don't even know what to say. And you feel dumb because you're just like, how can I not speak on camera? How can I make eye contact with something that feels like I have like a bullseye on my forehead right now?
Yeah.
So, but to make a long story short, the Guitar Center drum off helped me get exposure, but that's when the grind starts. The grind starts as soon as you win that drum off. It's like I grinded a lot harder during those, at least that year, to stay relevant, because I was like, in order for me to stay relevant after this drum off, I have to really, really, really grind this whole year. So I was posting up YouTube videos. I was posting up videos. I was doing a lot of clinics at the time. I started doing drum camps. I did drum camps overseas. You know what I mean? Like I was doing stuff all over the place, right, just so that I can be well known. And at the time too, like I had a provisionary endorsements with certain companies. So for example, Mino, I was in with Mino. Remo, I was in with Remo. So I was good with those two. DW at the time, it was giving me a provisionary kind of thing where I was like on probation. Vic Firth, I was on probation. So it's like they wanted to see what you were going to do before they gave you your endorsement. Right. So I didn't have endorsements. I was pushing those companies without having an endorsement because those are the companies that I really liked at the time, And then you get to figure out like, okay, it's about the product, but it's also more importantly about the people that work behind those companies and the people that are behind there. Are you at ease with, or are you at, let me see, not at ease, but are you content with their mission statement? Do those values go with your values?
Are you aligned with them, with their vision? Exactly.
So it's like you're aligned, because put it like this. at the end of the day, you're aligning yourself with that company. So, and it's a business at the end of the day. And that's
Right.
the one thing like people need to recognize is like you can be the best drummer in the world, but if you're not being seen and if their products are not being seen, they're not going to push you. They're not going to sign you.
That's right.
So, and I think that's where a lot of like the older musicians right now are being grumpy about certain things. You know, they're like, oh my God, how does so and so content creator have all these endorsements, yet that person's never played on a record or that person's never did this and that? And I'm
Yeah.
like, because the game has changed. Like,
Yeah.
it's not about being on tour anymore.
Right.
It's not about, at the end of the day, it's like when people go to a concert, people are going to see the artist. They're not going to see you.
Yeah.
You know, like you're a small portion of this production,
Yep.
you know? So it's like with content creators, like people are following the person. Like that's the person, they're the main artist, to say
That's
that, right?
right, yes.
They're the main artist. And if their product is being pushed by that artist the whole time and that product is getting millions upon millions of views, you don't think they're gonna invest in that person?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like times have changed. So I think you need to realize, or it's just people need to realize that endorsements are a two-way street. It's
Mhm.
more of like, okay, here's my platform. I'm gonna use this platform to raise your platform, and we're gonna raise both platforms together. That's
Yes.
essentially what goes down
Yeah.
now. So, but yeah, like my drum off stuff, it was great and it helped me out a lot, but it helped me realize more about the business aspect and know that just because I won something doesn't necessarily mean that things are given to me. I
Right.
still have to work I had to work even harder to stay relevant. And more importantly, I still had to prove to myself to companies, you know, to even sign me or to consider even signing me.
Yeah.
And it's a grind. It's a grind, and I won't lie to you. And then as your product grows or as your brand grows, like then people start noticing it. And just for me, as soon as I stopped chasing, things started coming to me.
Wow.
I'll say that
That's
because I switched my focus. I didn't switch my focus on getting an endorsement. I switched my focus on providing better content and providing content that's going to help audiences and people that are looking for answers.
Right. Wow. I think that that's so important what you just said. When you kind of stop searching for that, it'll come, you know, on its own. It'll come like whenever, you know, it's meant to come for your life. I think that I'm not going to lie. We've all gone through, or I've gone through a stage where it's like, man, I want to be endorsed. Man, I want to be a touring drummer. Man, I want to be this. I want to be that. But I've seen that when you want that so bad that that's all you pursue, it's like it doesn't happen because you're forcing it. But when you really just focus on, hey, I love this. This is my passion and I want to do it. If 2 people see me or if 2 million people see me, that's when you're doing it like really with that love because you love doing it. And that's when everything comes with all the success comes with you just doing it out of love and out of passion and not just like kind of looking for that and wishing for that. Like it's cool to have dreams, like you said, dream big, but like kind of make sure your focus is on, you know, you love what you do and your priorities are set to where it's like, I want to do this because I love it, because this is my goal. I want to pour out to people. I want to give back. And then that's when it'll start coming to you. You think the same way?
Yeah, man. I think as long as if you do things for the right reasons, things will open up for you. I'll say that. You know, if you have good intentions, things will open up. Because even if you do have other intentions, let's say they're bad intentions, and things do open up for you, at the end of the day, people are going to see that. And if they don't see it at the moment, they'll see it later on.
Right.
And then you'll get a bad reputation about yourself.
Right.
So I try to tell people all the time, I'm like, man, there's a time you got to be careful with what you say on social media. You got to be careful with what you post on social media, because people are assuming this is who you are on what you're posting.
Right.
And I also tell people too, like stop trying to compare yourself to somebody else on social media, because what you see is not really what you get sometimes. You know, you have somebody that has, you know, $300 sneakers or whatever, but you don't know that person's in like, you know, $50,000 worth of debt, just to try to
Yeah.
impress you. So
Right.
I tell people, live within your means. Don't try to impress anyone, and just stay true to you, and your vision and what God's vision is for you. There's a reason why you have that vision, at least for me, and I just stay true to it. And I've learned that it's not my timing, it's God's timing. So when God opens the door, I walk through,
Right.
and
Right.
I try to be obedient to that. And I try to be obedient to making sure I'm walking through the door at the right time,
Right.
because, sometimes the door will be cracked, but it's not the right time for you. And you still open the door and go through. And it's like, man, if you would have waited, it probably would have been a bigger blessing if you would have just waited and been patient about
Right.
it, and
Right.
not have to go through detours to get to where you wanted to go.
Right. Well, as we're coming to a close, because I want to definitely respect your time. It's been just so full of wisdom, man. That it's already been an amazing podcast. But coming to a close, I definitely want to just kind of ask you where you're a businessman, you're a educator, you're a family man. You've got a packed life, but I kind of want you to maybe tell us where your faith lies within all that, where kind of like God is in your life. Do you have, if you want to or can share with us, kind of like what's your relationship with God like? Somebody that's at the top of the drumming industry, successful, grinds all the time, but how do you balance that? Where do you find time to kind of pursue a relationship with God?
I think it's just a daily thing, like for me, like I wake up and I get on my phone, but it's like to read my devotional. That's the first thing I do. I don't get on Instagram. I don't get on anything like that. I try to touch base, with what he wants to say to me for the day and what lessons he's trying to teach me. So like, for example, I've been reading a devotional for like the last 35 days on happiness and what is happiness, and it's just helped me stay grounded. So for me, it's just, he's always been like my number one source at the end of the day, because that's what my mom showed me. That's what my parents showed me. I remember hearing my mom, crying in prayer late at night, and, crying for us, and just trying to give us a better life. And I'm like, man, like we could have been in the street. We could have been, in horrible situations, especially, with what my parents are making, monetarily, but like as spiritually in our home, we were filled all the time. You know what I mean? Like there was never a day where we went hungry.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like there was never a day. And my mom always showed us, like even when we were young, like we would go up and we would give our tithe, even if it was $1, it didn't matter. The point was in the valley. The point was the purpose. The point was to show gratitude. The point was to know what the source was. And my parents always showed us, how important it is to have that relationship, because, people will say, things happen, out of nowhere. And you could say that, but for me, I believe like things happen out of nowhere because of prayers and people, seeing that light in you. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like things just, like to me, things don't just happen. Like it's like, man, like everything built up to that moment, So like, for example, and I'll share this with you guys, like things, and I wholeheartedly believe this. I didn't win the drum off in 2008 for a reason. And I believe one of the reasons was I was dating somebody who on paper was fantastic, was pretty much everything that you ever wanted. But I know my career wouldn't have been, if I would have won, my career wouldn't have been where I am now, and I would have been divorced, hands down.
Wow.
And I know for a fact that things happen for a reason, and I met my wife, who at the time wasn't a believer and who wasn't right on paper, if you want to say, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But I knew who I served, and I knew I knew she was the one at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And now she's serving with me.
Wow.
She's amazing. Like I see an amazing vision for her and her life. And the fact that I'm in that position with her it's what God wanted.
Wow.
And it's an amazing thing. And the fact that I was able to impact her life and now she's impacting my life at the same time, it's amazing. So
that's so encouraging.
To get back to everything, man, it's just I know the source, at least for me, and I'm grateful for it. And that's why I wake up every day and I say my thanks. I say my prayers and I'm just grateful for everything, man. And I don't talk about it too much, with certain podcasts or anything like that, because, a lot of people that I talk to are atheists and that's okay. I'm not there to argue with you, at the end of the day. But for me, I know the source. I know my experiences. I've seen things that people will laugh at, and I'm just like, yo, it's true. Like I've seen it with my own eyes, which I won't get into like crazy detail, but there's stuff that people will laugh at, and I'm just like, yo, like what you're laughing at is serious.
Yeah.
And what we've seen the last couple of days, it's like, you know what I mean? Something's
spiritual.
about to
It's
happen.
spiritual. It's
Sure.
like in the spiritual atmosphere. But man, I think that it's encouraging, because one thing that I believe is that you witness mainly with your life. You witness with your example of how you're living. And I want to just say thank you, man, for being that example for people that, even though you might not be the most outspoken on media, but you're living your life right, and God sees that, man. And I think that people who look at you see a person that is after God's own heart because of the style that they live, the focus, the order in their life. And I just want to say thank you for being that example for us, for all the drummers out there. And thank you for sharing everything that you've shared on this podcast. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your humility, man. And I just want to bless your life. I know that there's amazing things in store, and 2021 is going to be crazy. Can't wait. I want, if you can, please just, kind of tell everybody where they can find your channel. I'm going to link everything, but, where's your social media, how we can find you, so we can, stay just paying attention to what's next in your career.
Absolutely. So my Instagram is my name, Juan Carlito Mendoza. My Facebook is just facebook.com/Juan Carlito Mendoza. Twitter, I don't really use too much, but I'll share with you the Twitter. Twitter is just Carlito and then an underscore, then Dozer, Dozer.
Okay.
And my YouTube channel, which is where I spend a lot of time on and try to post up weekly, is just type in youtube.com and you can put my name, Juan Carlos Mendoza, or you could just search Juan Carlito Mendoza and you'll see a bunch of videos there. Right. And my website is carlitomendoza.com, and there is where I host like my video lessons for sale, and my book is up there, and book 2 is coming out really soon, and I'm stoked about that. So yeah, that's pretty much all my socials there.
How exciting, man. How exciting. Well, I just want to say thank you, everybody, for watching. Thank you for staying tuned. Please, go follow and just watch how great of a drummer and an amazing, inspiring person Juan Carlito Mendoza is. Thank you so much for tuning in. Un gran abrazo. Great big hug to everybody out there. And I'll see you guys on the next one.
All right, guys.
Bro.